Mister, don't move, you're bleeding real bad. 8-year-old Maya Rodriguez's voice trembled as she dropped her worn backpack on the gravel and stumbled toward the man sprawled beside the crashed Harley-Davidson. His leather vest bore patches she didn't understand. A winged skull, the words, Hell's Angels, symbols that made grown-ups whisper and cross the street. But all Maya saw was blood. So much blood. The man's eyes flickered open, clouded with pain. His leg was twisted wrong, bone pressing against denim in a way that made Maya's stomach flip. A gash across his forehead poured red down his weathered face, dripping onto the Hell's Angels patch on his chest. "Kid," he rasped. "Run, not safe here." But Maya didn't run. She pressed her small hands against the wound on his head, her pink jacket sleeve turning dark crimson. "I'm not leaving you, mister. You'll die if I leave. If you believe in courage that doesn't count the cost, subscribe to Bike Diaries. These are the stories that remind us heroes come in the smallest packages. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments." The afternoon sun beat down on the empty stretch of Route 9 outside Bakersfield, California. Maya had been walking home from school, taking the shortcut through the industrial area like she always did. Her mama worked 2 jobs and wouldn't be home until late. Her older brother was at football practice. Maya knew the way by heart, past the old warehouses, along the fence line, then 3 blocks to their apartment. She'd heard the crash from 2 blocks away, the screech of tires, the crunch of metal, the terrible silence that followed. Most kids would have run the other way. But Maya's mama always said, "When someone needs help, you help. That's what good people do." So Maya ran towards the sound instead of away from it. Now she knelt in broken glass and oil, her school clothes ruined, pressing her jacket against a stranger's head, while his motorcycle leaked fluids onto the asphalt like mechanical blood. "What's your name?" Maya asked, trying to keep him talking the way she'd seen on TV shows. "I'm Maya. I'm 8. What's your name?" The man's eyes focused on her with effort. "Reaper," he managed. "They call me Reaper." "That's a scary name," Maya said honestly. "But you don't look scary right now. You look hurt." Reaper tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. "Smart kid. Too smart to be helping me." "Why?" Maya glanced at his vest again, at the patches she didn't understand. "Because of your jacket?" "Because of what I am." His hand moved weakly to his vest. "These patches. They mean I'm dangerous. Your mama probably told you to stay away from guys like me." Maya thought about that. Her mama had warned her about strangers, about bad people, about how the world wasn't always safe. But her mama had also taught her that when someone was bleeding and alone, you didn't walk away. "My mama says everybody deserves help when they're hurting," Maya said, firmly. "Even if they're scary when they're not hurt." Reaper's eyes glistened. "Your mama raised you right, kid." Maya looked around desperately. They were alone on this stretch of road. No cars, no people, just warehouses with broken windows and a phone booth 2 blocks away that might or might not work. "I'm going to get help," Maya decided, "but I need you to promise not to die while I'm gone." "Can't promise that, little girl." "Yes, you can." Maya's voice rose, fear making it sharp. "You have to promise I'm going to run really fast and call 911 and come right back, but you have to stay alive. Promise!" Something in her desperate certainty made Reaper focus. He lifted his hand, the one not twisted beneath him, and held out his pinky finger. "Pinky promise," he whispered. "I'll try." Maya hooked her small pinky around his large tattooed one. Then she grabbed her backpack, pulled out her homework folder, and placed it against his head wound. "Hold this. Press hard. I'll be right back." She ran faster than she'd ever run in her life. The phone booth was ancient, covered in graffiti. the receiver hanging by a wire. But when Maya lifted it, she heard a dial tone. Her hands shook so badly she misdialed twice before getting 911. 911, what's your emergency? A man crashed his motorcycle, Maya gasped into the phone. He's bleeding really bad and his leg is broken and he's by the old warehouses on Route 9 near Miller Street and you have to come now. Okay, honey, stay calm. How old are you? 8, but that doesn't matter. He's dying. Send an ambulance. We're sending help right now. Are you safe? Is anyone with you? I'm alone, and he's alone and you have to hurry. Maya slammed the phone down and ran back the way she'd come. Reaper was still conscious when she got back, which felt like a miracle. He'd kept her homework folder pressed against his head, though it was soaked through now. Maya dropped to her knees beside him again. I called 911. They're coming. You kept your promise. So far, Reaper said, his voice weaker. Good kid. Brave kid. I'm not brave. I'm scared. Maya's eyes filled with tears. What if you die before they get here? Then you did everything right anyway. His eyes met hers. What's your last name, Maya? Rodriguez. Why? Need to remember. Need to thank you proper if I... He coughed, and blood flecked his lips. If I make it. You'll make it, Maya said fiercely. She took his hand, the one with the skull ring and the faded tattoos. You promised. In the distance, sirens wailed. Maya had never been so happy to hear that sound in her life. The paramedics arrived in a rush of efficient movement, checking vitals, starting IVs, stabilizing his neck. They tried to move Maya aside, but Reaper's hand tightened on hers. She stays, he said through gritted teeth. She's my angel. The paramedics exchanged glances but didn't argue. They loaded Reaper onto a stretcher, and Maya walked beside, him to the ambulance, still holding his hand. You're going to be okay, Maya told him. The doctors will fix you. Already fixed me, kid. Reaper's eyes were closing. Already saved me. As they loaded him into the ambulance, one of the paramedics finally gently separated Maya's hand from his. You did good, sweetheart. Real good. What you did today saved his life. Maya watched the ambulance pull away, lights flashing, carrying the scary-looking man with the gentle eyes away to safety. She stood in the road, covered in his blood, her homework ruined, her jacket destroyed, and felt something she'd never felt before. The weight of having mattered. A police officer approached, kneeling to her level. You okay, honey? That was very brave. Let's call your mama, okay? Maya nodded, suddenly exhausted. As they walked to the police car, she looked back at the crashed motorcycle, at the place where she'd knelt beside a stranger everyone else would have feared, and whispered, Stay alive, Mr. Reaper. Please stay alive. Maya's mama, Carmen Rodriguez, arrived at the police station 20 minutes later, leaving her shift at the grocery store early for the first time in 3 years. She burst through the door looking terrified, then collapsed in relief when she saw Maya sitting on a bench eating a cookie an officer had given her. Mija! Carmen crushed Maya to her chest, speaking rapid Spanish mixed with English. They said there was an accident, that you were covered in blood. I'm okay, Mama, Maya said, her voice muffled against her mother's uniform. It wasn't my blood. The officer who'd brought Maya in approached carefully. Mrs. Rodriguez, your daughter saved a man's life today. He'd crashed his motorcycle on Route 9. Bad crash. Head trauma, broken leg, internal bleeding. Your daughter found him, called 911, and stayed with him until paramedics arrived. Carmen pulled back to look at Maya, her eyes wide. You did what? He was hurt, Mama. Really hurt. I remembered what you said about helping people. I also said stay safe. Carmen's voice rose with fear-turned anger. Mija, you could have been hurt. What if whoever hit him came back? What if... Mrs. Rodriguez, the officer interrupted gently. I understand you're scared, but the man your daughter helped is Reaper, president of the Hells Angels Central California chapter. If she hadn't stopped, he would have died on that road. The paramedics said she saved his life. Carmen's face went pale. Hells Angels? You helped a gang member? He's not a gang member, Mama, Maya said quietly. He's a person, and he was bleeding. The simplicity of that statement hung in the air. The officer cleared his throat. The hospital called. He's in surgery but stable. He asked about Maya before they put him under. Wanted to make sure she was safe. If this story is touching your heart, hit that subscribe button for Bike Diaries. Every subscription helps us share more stories about unexpected kindness and unlikely heroes. Carmen drove Maya home in silence, her hands gripping the steering wheel too tight. Maya sat in the back seat, staring out the window at the city passing by. She felt strange. Not scared, exactly, but different. Like she'd crossed some invisible line and couldn't go back. At home, Carmen made Maya shower while she scrubbed the blood out of her jacket, but the stains wouldn't come out. Carmen finally threw it in the trash, then sat at the kitchen table with her face in her hands. Maya emerged in clean pajamas, her wet hair dripping. Mama, are you mad at me? Carmen looked up, her eyes red. No, mija, I'm not mad. I'm scared, I'm proud, I'm confused. You're 8 years old, and you did something most grown men wouldn't do. He would have died, Mama. I know. Carmen opened her arms, and Maya climbed into her lap, even though she was really too big for that anymore. You did the right thing, but you also scared me so much. They sat like that for a long time, Carmen holding her daughter and trying not to think about all the ways this day could have ended differently. That night, Maya lay in bed, unable to sleep. She kept seeing Reaper's eyes, kept feeling his hand in hers, kept hearing his voice. She's my angel. Nobody had ever called her an angel before. She was just Maya, just a regular kid who got B's in school and forgot to make her bed, and sometimes fought with her brother. But today, she'd been somebody's angel. The thought made her chest feel warm and tight at the same time. The next morning started normal. Carmen made scrambled eggs. Maya's brother, Diego, complained about his math homework. The TV played the morning news in the background. Then Maya heard it. A sound like thunder rolling in from every direction. A rumble that grew louder and louder until the windows rattled and the dishes shook in the cupboard. Diego ran to the window. Holy! He caught himself before cursing. Mama, you gotta see this. Carmen joined him at the window. Then her hand flew to her mouth. Dios mío. Maya climbed onto the couch to see what they were looking at. The street outside their modest apartment building was lined with motorcycles. Not just a few. Dozens. Maybe 100. All Harley-Davidsons, all gleaming chrome and black leather. And standing beside each motorcycle was a man in a leather vest bearing the same patches Maya had seen yesterday. Hells Angels. They weren't doing anything threatening. They just stood there, engines off now, silent and waiting. Neighbors emerged onto porches and balconies, filming on their phones, whispering behind hands. Carmen gripped Maya's shoulder. Stay inside. Don't go near the windows. But then a knock came at the door. Firm, but not aggressive. Carmen moved to answer it, but Diego beat her there, his teenage bravado making him brave until he opened the door and saw who stood there. 6 men, all over 6 feet tall, all wearing Hells Angels vests. The one in front was older, maybe 60, with a gray beard and eyes that had seen things. He removed his sunglasses respectfully. Mrs. Rodriguez, my name is Bull. I'm the vice president of the Central California chapter. We're here to see Maya. Carmen positioned herself in front of her daughter. Why? Bull's weathered face softened. Because she saved our president's life yesterday. We don't forget that. We never forget that. We heard from the hospital this morning, another biker added. This one was younger, covered in tattoos. Reaper made it through surgery. Doctor said another 10 minutes and he'd have bled out. Your daughter gave him those 10 minutes. Carmen's hand shook on the doorframe. That's good. I'm glad he's okay. But we don't want any trouble. Ma'am, Bull said gently, we're not here to bring trouble. We're here to show respect. Can we please speak with Maya, just for a moment? Maya pulled away from her mother and stepped forward. I'm Maya. The bikers looked at this tiny girl in her school uniform, and something changed in their expressions. These hard men, these members of the most feared motorcycle club in America, looked at her with something like reverence. Bull knelt down so he was at Maya's eye level. You saved Reaper's life. You didn't run away. You didn't call for help and leave. You stayed with him, held his hand, kept him alive. You're 8 years old, and you showed more courage than most men I know. Is he okay? Maya asked. Really okay? He's going to live because of you. Bull reached into his vest and pulled out something small. Reaper wanted you to have this. It was a patch, not the Hells Angels Death's Head logo, but a small silver wing with the words Little Angel stitched in red. This is custom, Bull explained. Made just for you. It means you're under our protection. Forever. I don't understand, Maya said. It means you're family now, another biker said, his voice gruff with emotion. Means if you ever need anything, ever, you call us. Means nobody messes with you. Ever. Bull pulled out a card and handed it to Carmen. My number. Anytime, day or night. Your daughter is one of us now. That's not a threat, ma'am. That's a promise. She saved one of ours, so we protect one of hers. That's the code. Before you continue watching, tell us in the comments. Would you have stopped to help? Would you have been as brave as Maya? Your thoughts matter to us. Carmen looked at the patch in Maya's hands, at the 100 bikers standing silent in the street, at her daughter's face glowing with something she'd never seen before. Pride mixed with wonder. Thank you, Carmen said finally, her voice shaking, for checking on her, for letting us know he's okay. Bull stood. We'll be going now, but ma'am, that patch she's holding, that's not just cloth. That's a promise, from all of us. She's protected. As the bikers returned to their motorcycles, neighbors filmed and whispered. Maya stood in the doorway, holding her patch, watching these scary-looking men treat her like she was something precious. One biker, the youngest of the group, paused before getting on his bike. He turned back and called out, "You're my hero, kid! You're all our heroes!" Then, in perfect synchronization, they started their engines. The sound was deafening, overwhelming, like standing inside thunder. And then they rode away, one after another, a river of chrome and leather flowing down the street of this ordinary neighborhood, leaving behind a little girl who would never be quite ordinary again. Diego stared at his sister with new eyes. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Carmen just held Maya tight, the little angel patch pressed between them, and thanked God her daughter was alive and safe, and somehow, impossibly, under the protection of the most feared motorcycle club in America. In the weeks that followed, life changed for Maya in ways both small and profound. At school, she became a minor celebrity. The story had made local news. 8-year-old saves motorcycle club president. Her classmates wanted to sit with her at lunch, ask her questions, hear the story again and again. But Maya found she didn't want to tell it. The moment on the road with Reaper felt private, sacred. It wasn't a story for entertainment. It was the day she'd learned what it meant to really help someone, consequences be damned. Her teacher, Mrs. Wilson, assigned an essay on courage. Maya wrote about fear, about how she'd been terrified but helped anyway, because leaving someone to die was worse than being scared. She got an A and a note from Mrs. Wilson. True courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. You understand this in a way most adults never will. The little angel patch sat in a frame on Maya's dresser. Carmen had wanted to hide it, worried about what people would think, but Maya refused. It was hers. She'd earned it, and it meant something she was still trying to understand. 3 weeks after the accident, Bull called. "Maya, Reaper's being released from the hospital tomorrow. He'd like to see you, if your mama says it's okay." Carmen's first instinct was no, but she looked at Maya's hopeful face and remembered the 100 bikers who'd stood in their street with nothing but respect, who'd promised protection, who'd kept their word, and left them alone since. "I'm coming too," Carmen said finally. The hospital room was filled with flowers and balloons, many from other Hell's Angels chapters across the country. Reaper sat propped up in bed, his leg in a cast, his head bandaged, but his eyes clear and alert. When Maya walked in, his weathered face broke into a smile. "There's my angel." Maya approached shyly. This man looked different without blood covering his face. Older, kinder, less like a scary biker and more like someone's grandfather. "Hi, Mr. Reaper. Are you feeling better?" Reaper reached out his hand, and Maya held it, gently, remembering the night she found him bleeding in the street. "Because of you, I'm still here," he said, voice rough but sincere. "That's not a small thing, kid." "You don't owe me anything," Maya whispered. "I just didn't want you to die." Reaper blinked back tears. "Your mama raised you right." He turned to Carmen, standing stiffly at the foot of the bed. "Ma'am, thank you for letting her help me. I know what people think of us. But I gave my word. Nobody in my world will ever lay a hand on your daughter or your family. Ever. That's not talk. That's oath level." Carmen nodded, hesitant but grateful. "Thank you. I hope we won't need that." "So do I," he said softly. Then he looked at Maya again. "I want you to have something." He pulled a small leather jacket from a bag. Beautifully made, soft black leather, a single silver wing embroidered on the back. "Little angel." "For when you're older," he said. "No patches, not club stuff, just a reminder. You were brave when it mattered." Maya ran her fingers over the stitching. "Thank you." "No," Reaper said. "Thank you. You gave me a second chance. I plan to use it better this time." They talked for half an hour. School, weather, recovery. Nothing dramatic, but meaningful. When Maya stood to leave, Reaper called softly, "You ever need anything, you call Bull, day or night. If you're scared or hurt or just need someone who understands fear and stays anyway, call. You got 100 brothers now." Maya hugged him gently. "Get better, Mr. Reaper." "Already on my way, Angel." 6 months later, life looked normal again. Almost. The jacket hung safely in her closet, waiting. Sometimes Maya touched the wing to remind herself it was real. And quietly, things around her changed. A group tried to recruit her cousin Diego, until one conversation with a man nobody could identify. Then they vanished. When her mom's car broke down late at night, Bull arrived with a tow truck in 20 minutes, waved away payment, and made sure they got home safe. When her school needed playground funds, an anonymous donation came. The Little Angel Fund, $10,000. Reaper visited sometimes, slower now, a cane helping him walk. They'd grab milkshakes, talk about life. He never glamorized his world. He talked about loyalty, respect, choosing who you want to be. You showed me something back there, he said once. Courage doesn't come from patches or engines. It comes from your heart. You stayed when you could have run. I'm trying to live like that now. Maya learned heroes didn't always look clean and safe. Sometimes they had scars, and sometimes courage looked like an 8-year-old kneeling next to a stranger in the dark. On the 1-year anniversary, motorcycles filled the neighborhood again. But this time they brought backpacks, food, toys, scholarships. Not fear, support. Bull spoke in the community center lot, Maya at his side. A year ago, a kid showed us what real courage looks like. She didn't see a scary biker. She saw a human being. Today, we honor that by protecting this community, same way she protected one of us. Maya watched people soften, fear turning into cautious trust. Reaper stood beside her, stronger now. You did this, he murmured. No, she said. I just didn't want you to die. And that, he replied, is why it changed everything. Years passed. Maya turned 13. At her school assembly on leadership, she walked to the podium wearing the little angel jacket, now fitting perfectly. When I was 8, she began, I found a man hurt on the road. I was scared, but I stayed. Not because I was fearless, I was terrified, but because leaving felt wrong. That moment changed him, and me, and more people than I ever expected. She spoke about compassion, loyalty, how one act of courage can ripple outward. The auditorium roared with applause. In the back, Reaper stood watching, leaning on his cane but proud. Outside, his motorcycle waited. On the seat, a helmet Maya's size. You're 13 now, he said. Old enough for your first ride, if your mom says yes. Carmen hesitated, then nodded. Bring her back safe. Always. Maya climbed on. The engine thundered, but now it sounded like freedom. They rode into the sunlight. A girl and a biker, proof that kindness can rewrite lives. Because sometimes bravery isn't loud. Sometimes it's staying when running feels easier. And sometimes family isn't who you're born with. It's who stands beside you when the world gets dark.